CBS 2's Kim Wynne live in Iowa City tonight, where volunteers are helping to clear up the mess. Kim.
Well, Scott and Tiffany, it's definitely a very tough job out here trying to clear up these sandbags. It's hard work, even just trying to lift one of them. Oh, it's about, each bag is about 50 to 60 pounds. Very heavy there. That's why the city is calling for lots of volunteers to come down, help cut these open, empty them, and dump the sand right here into this big, mound that you see behind me. But even though there's a lot of labor and work that goes into it, I met a group of young volunteers here today who found a way to have a good time while giving back. It takes some pretty strong arms to cut through and dump out a 50-pound sandbag. Now imagine having to do that to nearly 10,000 of them.
We got an assembly line going, very efficient.
Lorenzo Manalo came fully prepared to get a little dirty.
I want to put on gloves, make it easier for my hands.
He's one of dozens of Habitat for Humanity volunteers from Chicago, helping Iowa City de-sandbag. More than 50,000 sandbags were given to homes and businesses for flood protection. And now that the water's gone back down,
we plan on reclaiming all that sand. None of it was in flood water.
The sand being saved will be mixed with salt later for snow removal in the winter. And even though that's a long time from now, volunteers say it's never too soon to lend a helping hand.
We are in the blazing sun right now, but you forget about all of that when you realize what you're doing for other people.
Especially if you're having fun while doing it.
I like wearing my gloves because they look cool, and I could unbuckle them and they look cool.
And as you can see, there's still lots of sandbags that need to be emptied. So if anyone wants to come down and volunteer, they'll be de-sandbagging all day tomorrow and Saturday. We're covering the corridor in Iowa City. Kim Wynne, CBS 2 News. I'm standing in front of an example of what the city is trying to clean up. As you can see, the signage is still up from a former bar here in Marion, but take a closer look down and you'll see that that bar is now closed and has been for several months now. But there's another former business in particular that still has its signage up that the community and the city want taken down. Driving through Marion, you'll probably notice this pattern. Sign after sign advertising businesses now closed.
There's probably about a half dozen signs in the community right now that are no longer in business.
But it's this sign advertising Asian massages that people like Anita Cole want gone.
Take it down so we don't have to have a reminder anymore of what was there.
The business was shut down after a prostitution sting last October. Anita, who works at the consignment shop across the street, says the sign is an eyesore for nearby businesses and customers.
They'll come in and say, well, that's where it was, wasn't it? The place where they'd had the prostitution. And I said, yeah, that's where it was.
And they really just wanted any evidence of that business being there gone from the community.
After several complaints, city planners are pushing for a law to speed up the process for taking the signs down. Right now, the city has to wait 6 months before notifying a business to have their sign removed. If passed, the new ordinance would cut that to 30 days.
They have 90 days to comply, and that's either remove the sign or begin the appeal process.
A process Anita hopes gets approved sooner than later. Do you want this to kind of just be a distant memory?
Yes. Hopefully not another one to happen here.
Now the new proposal will go before the City Council next Thursday. Covering the corridor in Marion, Kim Wynne, CBS 2 News. Well, Tiffany, that's mainly because truck drivers say they'd rather spend their time out on the road driving than here at a truck stop where they can't make any money. But law enforcement says without taking those rests, they're a danger to themselves and other drivers on the road. Richard Hill has spent the last 8 years moving hardware from state to state in this semi.
We do windows, bring windows out west to different places.
Like most truckers, he likes the long hours because they lead to more pay. Until now.
For the week, they can drive 70 hours, and then they have to take 34 hours off.
A big difference from the 82 hours drivers used to be able to fit in 1 week.
Money-wise on the paycheck for the week, that could affect me anywhere from $60 to $80.
Since July 1st, new federal rules have shortened how long drivers can go without a break. Now they have to take a half-hour break every 8 hours.
One of the main contributing factors to truck crashes is driver fatigue. So this is just a way for the drivers to get a little more rest.
A timeout some truckers say they don't need.
Whether it be 8 straight hours, 9 straight hours, I didn't feel like I was a safety hazard. I've never been in an accident.
I don't see how that makes you that much more safer. I mean, as a professional driver, we ought to be the ones who realize whether we're tired or not.
But with more than a $100 fine for drivers who don't rest, some, like Richard, are changing how they look at it.
It gives me a little more chance to exercise a few minutes. Say, walk around and stretch my legs. Maybe I'll be a little healthier.
Now, being that these rules have only been in effect for a few days, truck drivers say they won't really know how they feel about them until they get their first paycheck reflecting their new hours. We're covering the corridor in Cedar Rapids. Kim Wynne, CBS 2 News. Well, Scott and Tiffany, I'm standing in front of one of the biggest complaints that residents in Wellington Heights have here, broken and uneven sidewalks like this one you're looking at right now. This is a pretty big example. Just to come down this block, folks would have to walk around this hole and pretty much walk into oncoming traffic. And now that this neighborhood plan has been approved, they're hoping that they won't have to deal with issues like this for much longer. There you are. Marie Ugoric is enjoying a playful game of peekaboo. There they are. Here at Redmond Park, she feels a sense of community. It's one of the main reasons why she moved to Wellington Heights 10 years ago.
I like the openness and the fact that people do come out and meet their neighbors.
Restoring community pride is part of the area's master plan.
We're going to do all we can to show people that this is a great place to live.
By building this community garden and holding other events, residents have been working hard to shake off the area's reputation for crime. And now that the City Council has approved a master plan to spruce it up, that may be easier to do. The most pressing issues are fixing damaged streets and sidewalks.
You can see this curbing right here is kind of falling apart. Last year there was curb falling into the street.
Most of the corners you don't have ramps, so if you have a stroller, if you have a wheelchair, it's hard to get anywhere.
Residents say getting around gets even harder at night.
I've known a lot of people who are scared to walk alone at night.
Which is why the master plan calls for more street lighting and slowing down traffic. Improvements city officials hope will attract more people like Marie, not just to move here, but to stay.
People can buy a home, they can invest in the home, and they'll live here and make their home for long term.
I'd much rather put my energy into investing in the neighborhood than give up on it and move out.
The city hopes they can begin work on some of these projects by the end of the year. They say it may take anywhere from 10 to 15 years to fully complete the master plan. We're covering the corridor in Cedar Rapids. Kim Wynne, CBS 2 News.